watching the Vision channel, where Habakkuk 2 and 2 says, write the vision and make it plain, so they that see it can take it and run with it. This is the channel where faith and vision collide to bring forth a manifestation. You're watching the Vision channel.
I'd like to say good evening. Thank you for tuning in with your girl on tonight. I know I'm a little late, but it all is well. We still gonna have an exciting show for you tonight. So tune in, so get ready. I'm so excited to have this special guest in the room with me on tonight. I'm so excited to hear what he's getting ready to share with some of you on tonight. So it's just good for your ears. So stay tuned. Take note. You might need some information he's going to share with you on tonight about what he's getting ready to do. So I'm going to turn it over. My special guest tonight will be Christian Menefee. He is he's the county attorney for Harris County. He was elected in 2020, and now guess what? He is running for the congressional 18th district seat, the one Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee held, and the one the late Sylvester Turner had before he transitioned. So he's running for that seat now. So get behind him and support him. So I'm going to turn it over to him so that he can introduce himself, tell us a little bit about himself, his family.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I want to start off by saying you weren't late. I was late because I underestimated the traffic out here. I'm Christian Menefee. I am the county attorney. I was elected in 2020, and now I'm running for Congress in the 18th Congressional District, the seat of legends of Barbara Jordan, of Craig Washington, of the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and of course, of the late Sylvester Turner. I'm running because I believe that a thoughtful, a helpful, and a compassionate government helped me get to where I am today, which was having a fair shot at the American dream. There were many nights where I would not have eaten were it not for the WIC program that my family benefited from. There were many days I wouldn't have been able to pay attention in school because I would have had an empty stomach were it not for free lunch in our public schools. My parents would have never purchased a home were it not for VA benefits that allowed them down payment assistance, so they put $500 down to buy their first home. I would have never went to college without a Pell Grant, and my brother almost certainly would have died from cancer were it not for my parents' military insurance, government-sponsored, that made sure that his bone marrow transplant was 100% fully funded, and he's now been in remission for 25 years. Time after time after time in my life, it was a close family, it was a close relationship with God, and it was a smart and thoughtful government that gave me my shot at the American dream. That's how you go from having a family that sent more folks to prison than to college, to me being the youngest person and the first African-American elected Harris County attorney. But when I look into my boys' eyes, and I got two young sons, Gabriel and Malcolm, they're 3.5 and 1.5, and I think about what's happening to this country, and I think about specifically what's happening to the very programs that gave me my shot. We have a president in office right now who is taking aim at Medicaid, who is taking aim at Pell Grants, who is taking aim at the Department of Education. And I say this as a graduate of Houston area public schools, who is making it harder for kids who came up in situations like me to thrive and have their shot at opportunity in this country. So in my job as the Harris County attorney, I have pretty much made my name by fighting and winning. We have stood up to Greg Abbott time and time again to protect folks' voting rights and to advocate for environmental justice, and not just filing the lawsuits, but suing him and winning. We have sued the Trump administration when he cut funds that were supposed to come into Harris County for public health projects and other things, and we sue and we get in front of a court and we win. I have time after time fought and delivered as the Harris County attorney, and that's what people are looking to see in D.C. They're looking for folks who are in the Democratic Party, opposed to the Republican Party's president right now. They're looking for folks to stand up, to fight, to have a backbone, and not fight in a cosmetic way for cosmetic reasons, but fight and win and deliver real results. So we have a number of programs that we should be expanding in this country and not retracting on. We should be expanding Medicaid here in the state of Texas, but we're not, and so that's resulted in more than 1 million people who are uninsured. We should be expanding the Department of Education and increasing their funding so that our Title I schools, including many of the schools that we have in the 18th Congressional District, are fully funded and have wraparound services so that families can drop their kids off there and they get the full learning experience and they're able to thrive and become professionals and skilled workers and participate in our economy. We should be expanding Social Security so that this generation of folks who are set to retire actually get the benefit of what they paid into year after year after year. We should be expanding people's opportunity to get skilled jobs. So expanding workforce development programs and apprenticeship programs so that the kids who maybe don't want to go to college can become electricians and plumbers, right? And all these jobs where we know that we're going to need skilled labor. And these folks are able to work, make a good living, get the house, the 2 cars, and be able to do better in life for themselves and make their kids even do better for them. I'm running because I believe that we should be expanding voting rights.
Yes.
Because right here in the state of Texas, we have seen law after law pass to make it more difficult to vote, to make it more difficult to register to vote, to make it more difficult to vote by mail, resulting in a smaller and smaller percentage of the population determining who gets elected. I'll tell you right now, I can't go to the store and talk to 10 people, and 8 of the 10 want Greg Abbott in the governor's mansion. But they win because they make it harder to vote. So I believe in expanding access to vote, which means passing the Freedom to Vote Act so that we can have online registration and same-day registration. That means passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act so that states that have historically expelled black folks from participating in the political process now have to open the doors to us in the same way that they do every single other person so that we can have fair voting in this country. So I'm running to shake up the 18th Congressional District to make one of the best places to live and raise a family in the entire state of Texas, and to make sure that Donald Trump knows that the people who live here in the 18th Congressional District believe that what he's doing is wrong, and to use every single tool at our disposal to stand up to him, to fight back, and to win so we can make life better for people here.
So the question, before I start asking you some question, Christian, a lot of times we, as a people of color, don't get out and vote. It is what it is. A lot of us, they don't get out there, but then they complain when the wrong person get in office.
Yeah.
So we got to learn how to stick together, get out there and fight for these things. Our ancestors, a lot of them, they paved the way for us. Dr. King, a lot of them, John Lewis, a lot of those people paved the way for us. Goes all the way back to the ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to get out there and vote. And I'm going to just say, I'm going to put it out there. A lot of those old timers that's up in Congress, they need to go. We need some young blood in the seat now.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like if we have young blood in there, they're going to get out there, they're going to get their feet wet, and they're going to hit the ground running, and they're going to start fighting for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's exactly what people want to see. People want to see new blood, fresh faces, fresh energy. And I'll tell you, I get up every single morning at 4 a.m. I read my Bible, I pray, and then I'm at the gym and in the gym ready to go by about 5:15. And that's every single morning. I eat my Wheaties and I'm ready to take the fight to Donald Trump and every single one of them out in D.C. And I think that having that newly invigorated spirit in Congress is really going to cause folks to engage in our political processes. But the other piece of it is, black folk have always participated very heavily in political processes. The problem is, every single time we did in American history, it was some people who came and suppressed our ability to participate. So you look at Reconstruction. We were electing black folk across the South, right? Because we finally had access to the ballot box and the ability to put our people in office. And then what happened? Then you started seeing black codes. Then you started seeing Jim Crow laws. And they stopped us from being able to vote. Well, then we had the Voting Rights Act, right? And then you have this resurgence after the likes of Medgar Evers and John Lewis and all these fantastic leaders who stepped up and paved the way for us. You saw black voter participation shot up through the sky. What happened? Immediately, you started seeing a different type of law passed that was more nefarious, but it wasn't as transparent. So you saw voter ID laws, right? You saw closing of the number of polling sites. All of these different things to stop people from participating in the process. And then you saw the worst thing of it all, and that's gerrymandering. You saw a bunch of folks out in either Washington, D.C. or in the state capitol who didn't look like the highly diverse black and brown and beautiful communities that we come from, drawing maps that packed all of us together, right? Such that it didn't make sense to many people to vote in statewide elections, right? Or to vote in their state senate election because they weren't going to really have a say in who became their elected representative. And that's actually going on right now. Donald Trump issued an order to Greg Abbott to go out and to find 5 more congressional seats in the state of Texas for the Republican Party. And they announced that they're targeting the 9th Congressional District, the 18th Congressional District, the 29th, and the 32nd Congressional District. They're intentionally targeting black and brown districts So every single time black people pick themselves up off the mat and do what it takes to have a meaningful voice in our democracy and move the needle, you see that there are these forces that tend to be conservative folks who step in and strip us of that ability. And I'm not going to stand for it. I'm running for office in Congress to stand up and fight back. You know, I always think back to the Remember the Titans, where Herman Boone said, "Look, I don't dance unless I hear music. I will not be intimidated," right? I believe there's a generation of folks who are coming up who will not be intimidated by these forces. I don't care if you're a CEO, if you are the governor, or if you're the president of the United States. If you come against my people, you can prepare for a fight.
I just want to say now, I like Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah.
Because she's a fighter.
She is.
She got that young blood. She there. She fighting. She going down.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
she not scared. That's what I like about her. We need those kind of people
Yeah.
in Congress for us.
Yeah.
People like you, her, who's going to fight for us. The things that they're trying to take away.
Yeah.
But see, I know I serve a big God.
Right.
So
That's
they
right.
can say what they want to do.
That's right.
But my God, he see everything.
That's right.
And he going to come through.
That's right.
So I don't worry about what the manga doing. Is it the manga? I don't worry about what they doing.
Let me say something. Jasmine puts on the full armor of God every
Yes,
single
she
time
does.
she get out of the bed. And there's a reason that Jasmine's stardom has gone nationwide so quickly, because there is a real thirst in our community
Yes.
for an invigorating, for a steadfast, for a dedicated, for a resolute fighting spirit to come out of our elected officials. And you're starting to see that it's contagious, right?
Yes.
The Jasmine Crockett approach is now being adopted by members of Congress who have been there for years and years and years and years, and who ain't ever said the word fight, right? Was never thinking about the word fight. But now Jasmine is the ethos of the Democratic Party in Congress. Jasmine is a fantastic legislator. She is a great leader in the Democratic Party, and I think she's the future of what we should hope and expect to see.
Yes. The late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, she laid a foundation for the boundaries of the district. Are you going to continue her legacy, or are you going to go in a different direction?
I'm going to continue her legacy and build upon it. You know, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee was a whole lot of things. She was a dogged worker. She worked every single minute of every single hour of every single day. I can think of the many, many times where she would call me at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. and say, "Mr. County Attorney, are you asleep? It doesn't matter. I need you to call the FEMA regional administrator so we can get disaster recovery resources into our communities." And I plan to work just as hard as she did, and particularly on disaster recovery, because we see how it impacts. When we get a storm, people are losing their property, right? They're losing their dignity, and many times they're losing their lives. And it's happening right here in the 18th Congressional District. And when those floods hit, people in other communities where they have super high incomes, they can bounce back, right? They'll put in an insurance claim, be able to get their money back. There are folks in our communities who a bad storm hitting their apartment, hitting their house, can set them back 5 years financially, right? So making sure that we have direct access for those recovery dollars, trying to increase the amount of individual aid that's given to folks. I'm going to be an advocate for all of that. And then standing up, right? The resource giveaways quickly, standing those up as quick as possible, partnering with nonprofits and churches. I'm going to be a strong advocate for that. But the Congresswoman also fought on another front. She was a staunch advocate for Juneteenth, right? For turning it into a national holiday, acknowledging the delay in freedom, the pronouncement of freedom to so many folks here across the South, because we were in different conditions than folks who were enslaved in other parts of the country. I'm going to push forward with that. And I think part of the legacy of Juneteenth is moving forward on identifying ways to have reparations in this country. You know, we have a people, enslaved Africans, who built this country for free. Who were torn away from their families, who were beaten, right? Who were whipped, who were lynched, who were killed, who were brutalized and mutilated, and built this country for free. And there has been no answer for that. There are folks who still suffer the generational burdens of having started behind other people in this country because of slavery. And the Congresswoman was adamant about pushing forward studies for reparations to see about it happening one day. I'm going to be a champion and an advocate on that as well. So the Congresswoman laid a great foundation. My goal is to, be Christian Menefee, but to carry forward the legacy of the great people who pushed through in this seat. And I think back to Barbara Jordan. Barbara Jordan was just
Oh my God.
a powerhouse.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
was recently watching her speeches, and
Oh my God.
just
I just want her to just talk.
a great order, a great order.
Yes.
But in 1974 in July, she was at the House Judiciary Committee, and the hearing was on the Watergate scandal. And she took the mic and she said, "I will not stand idly by to the subversion, to the diminution, to the destruction of our Constitution." And she was talking about Richard Nixon, who had, through his campaign to reelect the president, creep, hired some ex-CIA folks and some other folks to break into the Watergate Hotel to spy on the National Democratic Party. Now, think about it. Richard Nixon was a lot of things. I think he was a bad president. He was dishonest. But compare him to Donald Trump,
Oh Lord.
to what we're dealing with now. I think that same fighting spirit, that ability to be the gentle lady from the 18th Congressional District and have your voice heard throughout the country and ultimately cause the President of the United States to resign because he was impeached. I think we have that same power today that we had in 1974. And so if you send me to Congress, I plan to use every single tool in the toolbox to make sure that we have proper oversight and investigation into the Trump administration.
Yes, Lord, we need it. What do you know about your opponents?
There are about 20 of them, so that's one thing I know. Look, there are many folks in this race. I think they're good people. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing, and that's the best for the 18th Congressional District. There's a state representative in the race. There's a former Houston City Council person. There is a lobbyist who's worked out in D.C. There is a content creator. There are many folks who are in this race who come from many walks of life. I think competition is good for democracy. I think it's important that people hear from different voices and decide what makes the most sense for them. But I think what sets our campaign apart is my experience in fighting and winning. I think right now what people across this country want, but particularly here in the 18th Congressional District, is they want action. They're tired of words. They're tired of slogans. They're tired of their politicians going to galas or posting on social media. They're looking for real life action to make their life better. There is a clarion call that's going out where they want you to take action to make their life better. And that's where we thrived at the county attorney's office, whether it be filing the lawsuits that I talked about or just taking action to protect our workers. I championed at the county attorney's office a worker safety policy that requires county contractors to give OSHA 10 and 30 training to employees if they're in the construction industry. I cleared all the legal obstacles for us to create a living wage policy, which ensured that every single county employee makes at least $20 an hour and employees of county contractors make $21.60. I championed our fair chance hiring policy, which I'm very proud of, because I have so many family members who are justice involved, who serve terms in prison. And when folks get out of prison, we don't create any pathways for them to participate in our economy. We make it difficult for them to get jobs, right? We shun them away. So what we did in Harris County government is we banned the box. You can no longer, on a job application for most jobs, ask people if they've been arrested, tried, or convicted of a crime. That question comes much later after they've been extended a conditional offer of employment. So I'm very proud of the work that we've done at the... Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Some people just don't believe in second chances, but I believe in second chances.
Yeah,
No matter who you are, somewhere down in our family, we all have family members that needed a second chance.
That's right. That's right.
So,
well, and beyond that, I think that our prison system is supposed to be about rehabilitation, not retribution, right? And you got to think about it. We're in Jim Crow, right? In the middle of the South, and you have people who are in a second-class citizenry, right? They're not allowed to go into certain places. They can't stop in certain towns, right? There's certain places they can't eat. They can't lay their head down. Certain hotels they can't go to. In every single sense of the word, you are a second-class citizen. And then you block those people from ownership of certain land. You block them from access to capital. You block them from being able to apply for mortgages, right, or loans, or any way to be able to afford to live in certain neighborhoods. So you pack them into these communities, right, into projects, into ghettos. And then you say, oh, there's too much crime. We have to crack down on them and give them long-term prison sentences, even though the same white rock that this person is pushing is the same white powder that this person is pushing, but this one gets 3 years and this one gets 30 years. You ruin lives. And the fact is we have so many non-violent offenders who were forced into the prison system. And because of how messed up the system is, they were hardened in prison. By the time they came out, they were more hardened than when they went in. My goal is for every single person who is given a prison term that has an end date, we should be focused on rehabilitating them to ensure that they are reintegrated into society, so that when they come out, they can get a job, they can do good, and they can like continue on in their life. Because study after study has shown, if they can't find a good job, they're going to reoffend. Because at that point, they might be institutionalized.
And you're right about what you're saying. I minister down at the prison, Stringfellow Unit.
Awesome.
And I always say that prison doesn't rehabilitate you. You have to rehabilitate yourself.
Right.
Now, there are some guys that go in there and really rehabilitate themselves, come out and be a productive citizen in society.
Yeah.
But prison is not designed to rehabilitate these people.
Right.
If it really was, then they would really be productive when they come out of that place.
Yeah. It's not currently designed that way. And then even worse, we make it so that if you commit a crime in this country, not only are you penalized by having to serve a prison system sentence, but you're also penalizing that you lose your right to vote.
Yes.
Right here in the state of Texas, if you haven't finished the entirety of your prison term, including getting off of papers, you can't vote. And if you do vote, even inadvertently, right, even unknowingly, you will be prosecuted. We saw that with Crystal Mason out of Fort Worth. We saw that with Hervis Rogers, who waited more than 6 hours here in Harris County when there was a malfunction at the county to vote, not knowing that he was then going to be targeted by the Office of the Attorney General for voting because he hadn't finished a sentence. There are systems in place that are designed to keep us as second-class citizens, and my goal is to upend all those systems, to fight as hard as I can to make it so that every single cousin I have who's been in the system, every single uncle, every single friend I've known in my time on this earth has a fair chance to rehabilitate themselves if they're looking to change their life, and many times they are.
Yes, we need it. Tell us a little bit more about this special election. Because you're talking to the audience and they need to know this.
Yeah.
Because we pushing, we rooting for you.
Thank you. Yeah, so the special election, I would say, is just the clearest example that Greg Abbott and Donald Trump couldn't care less about the people who live in this district. Sylvester Turner, just a fantastic man, a fantastic mayor, state representative, and of course, on his way to be a fantastic congressman before he tragically passed. He passed in early March. In many instances, when the governor of the state of Texas, Greg Abbott specifically, during his term, when there's been a passing, the law says he's supposed to call the special election immediately, as soon as practicable is what it says. And for Republican seats, he has called it immediately. And many times those elections will take place in June over the summer. So I called for the special election to take place in June publicly. I said the governor needs to call it for June the same way he's done it for Republican districts. Our district, this black and brown district, should not be forced to go almost a year without representation. The governor called the special election for November, right? And we know that he did so because Donald Trump, the president, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, nudged him to keep the seat vacant because the margins for Republicans are so slim in Congress. The election is set for November 4th. And of course, what we see soon thereafter is then the President of the United States calls on the governor to start trying to gerrymander the seats out here. But as for the election, it is set for the first Tuesday in November. Early voting starts 2 weeks before then, and it's a jungle primary. And what that means is every single candidate, regardless of political party, so you got Democrats, you got Republicans, you got Independents, they're all in the same pool. So anybody goes to the poll can vote for anybody. The top two people will advance to a runoff if nobody gets 50% in the first round, and that runoff date will be set by the governor after the first round.
Crazy. Looks like the state of Texas will be taking over the education department. And when I saw that, I was just disgusted.
Yeah.
I really was disgusted. I just thank God that Biden helped us to get some relief for some of our student loans.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this doesn't make sense. How you going to come in there and try to disband most of the education department and take different things away from people who are trying to get an education?
Yeah. I think the clearest sign that we were heading in that direction was when they put Linda McMahon, who's the former head of the WWE, into the position as secretary of the Department of Education. I think the Republican Party has shown that they have no belief in public education. They have no desire to better our public education system. But let's be clear why they're doing it. They're trying to cut funds from various departments and agencies and programs that impact our life, right? From Medicaid, trying to skinny up on Social Security, all throughout the federal government, so that they can make room in the budget to give tax cuts to billionaires.
Of course.
That's all Donald Trump's big so-called beautiful bill is. It is the largest redistribution of wealth in a generation. It is designed to take away the programs that benefit working class folk, poor folk, and then to give that money to upper class folk who don't even need the money. But this is what I want people to know. The Republican Party is exactly who they're showing you they are. When somebody shows you who they are, you should believe them. We shouldn't make excuses for them. We shouldn't try to suggest that there's some greater scheme at play to help us. It's none of that. This is a billionaire trying to help his billionaire friends in a way that's going to be hurtful to us. The Department of Education issues Pell Grants. I would not have gone to college without a Pell Grant. That is a program that made it so that we're here having this conversation today, right? And here they are cutting, and it's going to impact students across the country. It's wrong. It's disgusting. And I think that, Lord willing, we flip the House and the Senate in 2026, and we do every single thing we can. No, that's right. And we do every single thing we can to try to stop these rollbacks because they're doing it to create dysfunction, to harm people, and they're trying to do it in a way that's going to make it difficult to restore in the future.
Yes. I like what Obama said at the Democrats. They had a luncheon thing.
Said grow a backbone.
They need to rebuild. They need to, baby, roll up your sleeves or get out the way for somebody who's going to roll theirs up. That's my take on it.
Right.
Because you're not doing it.
Right.
You need to regroup.
Right.
That's why I say we need some young blood up in there. And those other two, Ortiz and the other one, I like them too.
Oh,
they're not scared either.
Yeah, AOC and so
I like Warnock. And I like
he's great.
Ossoff.
John Ossoff, out of Georgia. Yeah. But I think what you're saying, that there are folks of all generations who are coming to Congress, and they're just on a different type of time than people who had been in Congress. And I think that new blood, and again, it spans generationally, right? That new blood is needed. Just people who see it differently, who are ready to call this stuff out for what it is, and who are ready to use the tactics. That's one thing about the Republican Party, is when they get in power, they're going to exercise that power. And they don't really care how uncomfortable it makes you. I mean, right now we're telling Donald Trump and Greg Abbott and them, we're saying, hey, what y'all are doing to try to redraw the 18th, the 9th, all these districts is racist. Y'all should not be doing this. It's racist. You know what they're saying that's in return? We don't care. We have the opportunity to get us 5 more seats out of Texas. We're going to figure out a way to get us 5 more seats out of Texas. I wish that Democrats would be so unabashed about our exercise of power, because here's the thing. We're not exercising the power for ourselves, right? This is about the communities that need it the most. These people are like this when they're exercising power to help billionaires and the wealthy. The least we can do is be shameless, absolutely shameless, in trying to help people who for generations have been overlooked and forgotten.
Yes, absolutely. How would you stand up to these MAGA Republicans, make America great again? Because I don't see how you make America great again.
Yeah, I think what's about to happen to the Make America Great Again movement is they're at a serious crossroads. These Medicaid cuts in the so-called Big Beautiful Bill,
Social Security,
these cuts are going to hurt people in MAGA rural Republican country. There's town after town where Medicaid is saving people's lives, right? And in these small rural towns, a lot of times there's a large subset of the population that's on Medicaid. And if you don't have insurance, in a lot of these communities, they just won't go to the doctor. They could have a nagging, lingering issue. They don't go, and then eventually they find themselves being diagnosed with something terminal. This is going to hurt people who are the most conservative MAGA Republicans who voted for Donald Trump time and time again. And I think that you're going to see a shift in the folks who are supporting the different political parties. And it's up to us as Democrats to point this out, to make sure that people know exactly what these folks are doing. Donald Trump is one thing he is very, very good at is mastering narratives,
Yes.
commanding narratives,
Yes.
making people
Yes.
talk about what he wants them to talk about,
Yes.
and then dismissing the stuff that he doesn't want to talk about. We have to be
Yes.
able to overcome that. And that means going on people's radio shows, going on people's
Yes.
podcasts, right? It means being in the news as often as you need to be.
Yes.
To make your voice heard and combat that. The second thing is to combat the Trump administration is when we get the House back on the Democratic side, we have to be prepared to use the oversight and the investigative powers of the House of Representatives. The House is the power of the purse, right? The House sets appropriations, the House gives out the money. If the House of Representatives also has the oversight authority and properly exercises it, then there's a lot of power that you can use to rein a presidential administration in. What that means is that when we take the House back, we can't be scared.
Yes.
Can't nobody be scared.
Exactly.
When you show up, you got to be prepared. You have to be methodical. You have to be thoughtful, but you have to be forceful. And we have to be ready to pound the table,
Yes.
to make our demands, and to ask the questions that need to be asked, and to investigate the stuff that needs to be investigated.
Yes.
And that's where I thrive. I've practiced law since 2013. I was in private practice as an attorney before I ran for office, but since I've been county attorney, that's what I've done. I'm the person who comes and bangs the table and gets the governor of Texas or the attorney general, whoever, to back down or to do what needs to be done, or to get a judge to rule that they have to do those things. That's the spirit that we need in Congress right now. You mentioned Jasmine. We need that fighter spirit
Yes.
heading into Congress
Yes.
right now, because we're about to go into a season where it's the season of accountability.
I see Cory Booker. He not scared either.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yeah.
I see Hakeem getting a little bit feisty there too.
Look, when I tell you
hey,
everybody's picking it up, I
hey,
seen on Instagram Hakeem posted a picture
Yeah.
with like a Louisville Slugger or something. I said, oh my gosh, everybody getting feisty up in here now. Yeah.
And that's what it's gonna take.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody scared of you.
No, that's right. I mean, look,
A thug Don.
that
Ain't nobody scared of you.
because I'll tell you what, if black folks in power, if Barack Obama would have conducted himself the way that Donald Trump has conducted himself,
Yes.
Barack Obama would have got impeached after about 9 months
You
in
better
office.
believe it.
And it ain't no way he would have been able to
Better
get away with
believe
that.
it.
And so when you have this president who comes in like a thug, who has singular control of the Republican Party, I think you got to fight fire with fire. And
Yes.
my whole life, I've never liked bullies. I've been standing up to bullies my entire life.
Yes.
And what we have on our hands is a bully. And we got a bunch of people who believe in the bully. But a lot of those people are now starting to see the bully don't care about them. And that's why these Medicaid cuts and all this is happening.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, he never cared about them.
He did. And then the thing about that Medicare, and I got to say this about Obama, because when he first came out, it was Obamacare.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Don took office, then he made them change it to the Affordable Care Act because he didn't want Obama name on it. But you wanted your name on these checks that was going out. You wanted your name there. It was like anything Obama did, he hated it.
That's right. And, that was the Republican Party even before Donald Trump. I'm old enough to remember back when Barack Obama got elected and when Senate Republicans, John Boehner and others in the House as well, made clear that the number one goal is to make sure that Barack Obama accomplished nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So that's right. And so that's why you would see the Paul Ryans of the world, the John Boehners of the world, the Senate Republicans. That's why you would see them all band together
Yes.
and do whatever they can to try to undermine him.
Yes.
And that's why you would see states, and even to this day, states that refuse to expand Medicaid, access that was given under the Affordable Care Act, states that refuse to do it for no reason other than the partisan politics of Barack Obama. And it's shameful. It's absolutely shameful. I can't imagine if I was a governor in one of these states, like Texas, that has refused to expand Medicaid, if a single person died because of that decision, a single person, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Yes.
Not one person. But what you're seeing is these folks, their hatred, right, and their political partisanship is so strong that this is where we've come to. So Donald Trump is all that on steroids, right? Donald Trump is a result. Donald Trump is what you get when you elect the first black president, and he's there for 8 years. He'll never get in no trouble. He'll never have no scandal, and people are highly upset about it.
Yes. I see your campaign focuses on a fighter spirit. Would you please explain?
Yeah, I think that there are different types of people in this world, and especially in politics. And in politics, there's an entire spectrum. You got people who like to go along to get along. You got people who want to shake the table a little bit just to say that they shake the table. And then you got people who, eat, breathe, and sleep standing up for other people. And that's how I've been since I got into politics. I got elected in 2020. I got to suing Governor Abbott in the state in 2021, my first year in office. A lot of people are talking about being a fighter now. As you just mentioned, you got the Democratic minority leader in the House of Representatives. You have even politicians who have been around for a long time talking about fighting. I was fighting before it was cool, okay? I was filing lawsuits against Greg Abbott and fighting against Greg Abbott back when people were saying, hey, we got to compromise, we got to play nice. I think that it's a great thing that the party has now come around to this perspective, because mine was always a very black perspective, right? It was always a black perspective that, hey, there are some people out here who you can't negotiate with because they're trying to get you to negotiate your existence. And that's just not how we do things. So now the party sees the world a different way. But I think what I bring to the table is right now people are learning how to fight. Yes. They're trying to figure out strategy. They're learning for the first time how to stand up to this stuff. I've been doing this for the past 4 years. I've taken them to the courtroom. I've taken them to the mat in the media. I've never been afraid to say what I believe and to stand on it in publicly. I've never run away from any issue that I believe in. And I think that's the type of bold and courageous and fearless leadership. It's funny. I was talking with a member of Congress from a different state, an older black gentleman, and he said to me, hey, all them polls and politics, they don't mean nothing. He said, the only thing that mean anything is the grandmama test. I said, what's the grandmama test? He said, next time you go to the grocery store, if any of the grandmamas recognize you, think about what they got to say to you. If they say something to you, just whatever they say, that's what people think. So then I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. So I get back home. I go to HEB over there on a 288, right, in McGregor. And I go into HEB, and an older black woman approached. She said, baby, come here. I said, yes, ma'am. I got to get close to her to hear. She wasn't talking that loud. She said, you sure do be giving Greg Abbott some trouble, boy. And I said, ooh. I said, there it is. That's the grandma test right there, right? But I think that should be our ethos in the Democratic Party. That should be the product that we're selling, because that's what people want. People are tired of getting run over. They are tired of seeing Donald Trump be more and more ridiculous. They're tired of feeling like they have no control over their employees' actions. Donald Trump is the employee of the people of the United States. They're tired of feeling like they have no control over him. He can do anything. He gonna get away with it. Anything at all. They want people to rein him in. Come here now. They want you to rein him in, and that's what I'm here to do.
Yes. One thing I'm always reminded about Pastor D.Z. Cofield. At the end of his show, he always say, if you see a good fight, get in it. If you don't, start one. And I love that so much because it is so true as to what we need to be doing now. I may not see one, but I'm going to start one. And if I see a good one, I'm going to get in it. Especially when it comes to this president that sits up in that White House now. I'm going to get in it. I can't stand it.
There are periods, I think, in American history where, a subgroup of people, where there was just a fire that was emanating throughout a certain community. I mean, you look at the civil rights movement from the late 50s and the 60s. There was a fire that was building that could not be stopped, right? You look at some of the movements of the early 90s, right, with the Rodney King beatings and with that trial and what came out of that. There was a fire that just could not be quelled, could not be stopped. I think we're coming into that another period of that right now, where you have a whole set of people who just have a fury at what they're seeing out of D.C. They have a fury that the president can lie, that he can do any number of things, that he can erode norms, that he can lay off hundreds of thousands of people, that he can blame a plane crash on DEI, that he can say racist stuff, that he can, say insensitive things on Juneteenth, and there's nothing that they could do about it. And people are getting upset, and you are not going to be able to control that feeling in people. And so I think the way that it's going to pour out is they're going to send people to Congress that are going to be more forceful and more ready to fight. So I got to fight, but I'm also looking for other fights to protect and advocate for our people.
So as we get to this last question, Christian, how important is the 18th congressional district to all people?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. This district is one of the most important black districts across the entire country. Sheila Jackson Lee was not a voice for Houston. She was a voice for the nation. Barbara Jordan was not a voice for Houston. She was a voice for the nation. It is a seat that has a voice for all of Black America. it is a seat that has incredible importance in Texas, right? So I think that where the 18th goes, the state of Texas goes. And it's imperative that we protect this seat, that we protect this opportunity at our collective power, and that we protect whoever gets in there is going to be a voice for the nation. And look, I'm running for Congress. I want people to vote for me, Christian Menefee. But even if I don't win, I believe in protecting the 18th. I believe in protecting the voice of the people. And I think that's why it's so important that we send a fighter in this particular position. I don't think we should be sending somebody up there to hang out, to go to dinners, to go to galas.
Yes.
That might be for some other seat. That ain't for this one, right? We have people who are having to choose between whether they get life-saving care or put food on the table, right? We have people who are about to have their Social Security taken away from them. We have people who are about to get their Medicaid stripped from them because of ridiculous work requirement paperwork, not even real work requirements, but just paperwork that's going to put a gap between them and their ability to get their coverage. We have people who, because of the things that Elon Musk have done, are now without a job.
Yes.
We can't afford to put this position in the hands of anything other than a zealous fighter who's going to be thoughtful, who's going to be intelligent, who's going to represent us well, but who's going to be forceful, who's never going to be bought and paid for, and who's never going to sell out. And, you know, I've been doing politics for a good amount of time now. I have never sold out, always been there for the people. And that's how I plan to be in this office. I'm gonna be the hardest working member of Congress. I'm gonna put in the hours. I'm gonna do the work. I'm gonna keep my head down and do every single thing I can to make life better for people who live in the 18th congressional district, and to make sure that we have a voice in Washington that's gonna stand up to the powers that be.
Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, when the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, when she was run, it looked like nobody could beat her.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing I can say, she was a fighter.
Yeah.
She stood her ground. She didn't take no stuff.
Yeah. Oh, look. I mean, look. Everybody in politics was scared of it. Let me tell you. I heard some
look,
stories. Look, all the way until she passed, I said yes, ma'am, to her. Okay, let me tell you, it didn't matter what elected office I was in, didn't matter where we was. You know, she say, Mr. County Attorney, do X. Yes, ma'am. That was the answer. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that's the type of fighting spirit that we want to always make sure that this seat has. And, you know, it's not by luck that we've ended up with such great representation in the 18th congressional district seat. It's not by luck. It's because that's what the voters demand.
Because I don't believe in luck.
That's right. I don't believe in it either. I don't think luck's in the Bible a single time. There it is. You know, it's because that's what the people of this district demand. And my promise is that we're going to continue that legacy. You know, we're supported by a lot of folks in this campaign, but what I'm most proud of is to have the support of former Congresswoman Erica Lee Carter, who was the daughter of the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. So I'm proud to have support from the family. I'm proud that we have so much support from unions, from faith leaders, from people who are on the ground in the community doing the work every single day. Boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. And we're going to take it to Donald Trump. So I'm looking forward to it.
So you heard Christian Menefee. We're getting ready to close out. Christian, look into that camera. Tell those people what they need to do as we push you. I'm pushing him. You pushing him. My pastor is behind him. A lot of those pastors, they are behind him. And we want you, my viewers and my listening audience, we're going to get behind him and we're going to push him all the way to Congress. I'm telling you.
I just want to thank you so much for having me on. I'm Christian Menefee. I'm so excited to be running as hard as I can for the 18th congressional district, not to serve me, not to serve anybody else, but to serve you. So if you want to be a part of this movement, if you want to help to push us to be able to fight for the 18th congressional district, I need you to go to christianmenefee.com. That's CHRISTIANMENEFEE.com. Sign up to volunteer with our campaign. But the most important thing is to vote. The election is the first Tuesday in November, November 4th. Early voting starts 2 weeks before that. So as we come into October, in the next few months, there will be an opportunity to cast your ballot, to make your voice heard. Don't let anybody tell you that your voice is not important enough to change the course of this country and to shift our democracy. Send me to Congress. I'm going to fight for you every single day, and I'm honored to have the support here today, and I'm honored to be here. And go to christianmenefee.com. Thank you.
I was so glad to have Christian Menefee in here tonight so he could share. And I'm looking for those that's going to go to Congress and fight for us because we need all the fighters that we can get. So thank you for tuning in with your girl on tonight. I look forward to seeing you on next week with another special guest. You all have a good night.